Okay, welcome everyone. This is the first event of the new season for our communities, Lean Agile Delivery and Coaching Network and Digital Transformation in London. Tonight we have Simon Copsey that we talk about the complexity, but actually I think, but I don't want to ruin the surprise, it should be more interactive than a standard presentation, hopefully. So we will give the control to Simon in a few moments. Just to remind you a couple of information, we are present also on LinkedIn with the LinkedIn group. So I will publish the link so you can register there during the conversation. And also we have a YouTube channel where all of our old events are available. So if you have been there and you want to, let me say, re-watch something that you find interesting, or maybe you were not present and you want to listen and watch the conversation that we had, we have more than 80 videos available there, everything around agile topics, you know, that is our main subject for the events. So they are available there, and you can register to the YouTube channel, so you know when the new video will be available, and I will publish the link in the chat during the conversation. Last but not least, you know that I will be really happy if any of us as a member of the community would like to share something with the other members. So if you have an experience, if you have a problem and you want to share it with our members, please keep in touch with me so I can arrange an event where you can share something. I want to remind you, you know that this is something I really care about, that a living community is a place where everyone is feeling comfortable to share something. So we cannot consider a community if we are not really open to be a speaker in the community. Okay, so please keep in touch with me so I can arrange all the logistics, so you have just to focus on the content. I will manage everything else. Okay? Hi, Javier. Okay, so I'm giving the control to Simon. And so again, thank you for joining this session, and I will stay silent because I talk too much. Thank you, Simon, for coming with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very grateful to be with you. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see it. I'm just going to arrange things around here. Thank you, Claire, for letting me know. Ooh. Okay. So, hi, I'm Simon. I hail from Open Credo. I like complex problems, cats. Thank you again for letting me be here with you. Open Credo, just in terms of where I come from, I guess, in summary, we help leaders create conditions for staff to succeed. Our work often starts with a short assessment to pinpoint the root of issues. And one of the tools that we use during the assessment is one that I'm particularly passionate about, and is one that I wanted to share with you today. And I hope you find it as helpful as I do. And that's the current reality tree. Right, so hopefully you're all in the right room. Clarity and complexity, using cause and effect thinking to help upgrade our thinking. What I'll do is I'll pause now and then look in the chat, because at certain points what you'll see I'm doing is I'm asking you questions. And the reason for that is to test myself, because I'm trying out some new content, because I'm really keen that it might be helpful, but I want to make sure that I'm communicating in a way that makes sense. So now and then I'll be asking you questions, but really what I'm doing is testing myself, so I can make sure I'm bringing you along with me and clarify where necessary. So really, there's two things I want to cover here. Firstly, I want to tell you some stories, and those stories are playgrounds, where I then also want to share with you that thinking tool, the current reality tree. And the playgrounds will give us an opportunity to try out that tool, see how it works, and see if it feels right for us as an individual, given the problems that we're trying to tackle in our space. Warning, there's some activities ahead. Probably about 10 minutes in, there's some interactive activities in breakout rooms, if I can get them to work. Feel free, if you're making dinner, if you're watching your kid, do that. That's more important But if you are free, it'll be lovely to have your interactivity. If you have a pen and paper, that's also useful. It's just something you'll be scribbling down later on. Nothing you need to show anyone. It might just be helpful. Right, I'll jump in. Again, I'll pause after about 5 minutes, see what's coming up for everyone, and make sure I'm going at the right speed. If anything does bubble for you, just throw it in chat, and I'll try and peek now and then. So first, I want to start with a story, and this is a story of what I call Tyrell Corporation. It's a true story, but it's kind of taken from a few different examples combined into something that tells a story of slow project delivery and unhappy staff. And we'll keep returning to this story to try some tools out. So Tyrell Corporation had two particular teams in it that were suffering, a human resources team and a set of project managers. And the human resources team were seeing that staff were unable to grow the skills that really mattered to them. And that meant that they were actually quitting. They had attrition. Project managers were seeing that projects were moving slow and unpredictably, and work was often getting stuck between teams. I'm sure none of this sounds unique. In the human resources arena, what they were looking to do to try and tackle the problems they were facing in terms of staff not being able to learn and quitting was they were going to purchase some on-demand learning content so staff could learn what they wanted to wherever they were at any time. And then the project managers felt that better forecasting would allow for better coordination between teams. So they were going to buy a new project management tool that had that better forecasting ability. So my first question, answer in chat, answer verbally, whatever's right for you. An intentionally ambiguous question, are these good solutions? Gives me a chance to have some coffee whilst you answer. These tools address symptoms more than causes. Ooh, I like that, Ema. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
I was just gonna add they're okay solutions, but I don't think you really know if a solution is correct unless you get the right results. So
I love that, Christina. Thank you. So it depends on the results. Yes. Pascal, probably not. Seems people were not heard. Ooh, interesting. Working in silos. I like this very much. Band-aids, Lisa. Yes, this feels good. Not very outcome focused. They're not looking at the why behind the problems. I think you know all this already. Focus on tools rather than people. This is Amini, and Sarah says, I think we should get to the root cause of the issues before any solution proposal. Love it. Ah, you're ahead of the game. Okay, let me see if I have anything to share with you. I think you already know the answers, but I'm going to keep going in the hope there's something there. Perfect. Okay. Right. So yes, it feels like we're kind of just swimming along. This is the only animation I've ever done in Keynote, so it's not very good. But it feels like we're kind of swimming along the top of an iceberg, and we don't really know what's underneath. We don't know the why. We don't know the context. And I think Akoff puts this really well. He says, the more of the context of a problem that a scientist can comprehend, the greater are his chances of finding a truly adequate solution. His wording sounds very pessimistic. There's a reason behind that, but it's a whole other ballgame. You may already be aware. So the recap, I'm just setting up the problem here. This is probably inherently obvious from what you've said in chat. It is obvious, but really evaluating a solution means that we need to understand the problem and its context. So the question becomes, how can we do that? And this is where I want to channel our inner scientist. So again, I'm going to start quite basic, and I promise I'll add up to this. So not just the problem, but also the people. Yes, 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 intertwined. But do hold me honest to that if what I present later on doesn't show that. Right, so why isn't a lamp turning on? So just imagine you're in England, it's very dark, monsters are coming out, you have a lamp on your side table, it's not turning on. Throw out some reasons why that could be. I'm just curious what comes up for you. How? I like that one. Bulb is broken. Is it plugged in? Oh, you're my kind of people. Absolutely. So let's start there. New bulb, lamp isn't on. Didn't pay my bill. Oh, that's great. I like that. Absolutely. So let's just lay that out. I just want to lay that out. So if the lamp's not turning on, it may be because it's not plugged in. Very basic. And there's an effect that we're seeing and we're speculating a cause, and we may test that speculated cause by looking behind. It's something quite observable. We can look behind and see, is it plugged in? All I'm using with the arrows and if then. You know, if my lamp is not plugged in, the lamp won't turn on. Similar, and if it's not that, we might move on to another one. The light bulb is blown. So if the light bulb has blown, the lamp won't turn on. Again, that's something that we can, to a degree, observe with a filament lamp. We can see the filament broken. Likewise, the lamp might turn on for a very different reason, which is there's a power cut in the street. And what do we do when there's a power cut? It's not something we can directly observe, similar to being plugged in. We might peer out the window, and we might say, well, all houses and lights on the street are dark, or we've received a text message from the utility company. Yes, we have to learn to speculate. So although we can't see the observable cause in its essence, we can look for other symptoms that indicate that underlying cause is present. Right. And Lisa puts this really well. She says that carelessness and the use of the word because hurts people and hurts organizations. And you've just demonstrated you can do that. You've used the word because perfectly. In all these statements, let me just put it here, although I'm using the words if then, really, if you reverse it, because in all those statements, you said, my lamp is turning on because there's a power cut, because the bulb's blown. And so you're using causality perfectly. So you passed the first test. And if we come back to Tyrell, and we look at the human resources team, first of all, for example, the human resources team already understood that staff are quitting because staff are unable to grow the skills that matter. So they've already correctly observed during those exit interviews that the reason behind that. But what I'm curious about is they've obviously speculated a cause because they've come up with a solution, which is purchasing on-demand learning content. So if HR is purchasing on-demand learning content, what must they be assuming the cause is? Get on chat, throw it in there, I'm just curious. No time to improve
learning opportunities.
Learning opportunities. Tell me more about that.
So just a lack of them, sort of like, but I mean, I'm trying not to like actually solve the other side of the problem, which is going, yes. Yeah, but you don't know where they've come from, but just assuming it's just more general that they need more generic skills, then purchasing an on-demand learning content would solve that problem. So I need to assume that they are lacking in generic skills that they feel they need.
Thank you for sharing. So yes, there's a few things coming up from what you've shared with me, Claire, and also what's coming up in on chat. So I think firstly, I think Christine and Claire, you're coalescing on a similar point, which is who defines the skills that matter, and that is very ambiguous terms on what I've written on the slide here. It'll come out a little bit later, but for me, I'm talking about intrinsic motivation. So the skills that matter to me as an individual. If I don't have the opportunity to pursue mastery, that's one of my 3 pillars of intrinsic motivation that's dead in the water, and I would quit at some point, assuming I don't have a family that I need to support. So sorry that I couldn't type that in my little post-it, but yes, I appreciate your curiosity and it's the right question to ask. Skills do not improve by just attending online course, no time to improve knowledge. Yes. So my assumption here is it's not time, because they're purchasing on-demand learning content, but it's actually having access to the online learning content. Otherwise, the solution might be quite different. It's creating 20% time. It might be creating some space for people to learn, but it wasn't that. What they've done is they've chosen to purchase on-demand learning content. But what you're circling around, the fact you're questioning and looking for what are they really trying to solve, is the thing that's important to me. So thank you. And similar to project managers, the question becomes, what is the problem they think they're trying to solve? If they're getting a tool with better forecasting, what do they assume the problem is? Oh, Alessandro, you're coming from this from another angle that's important too, actually. So I was thinking about the individual's motivation, because we want to make sure that they feel motivated in their role. They have everything they need, the conditions for motivation, that they can learn as what they want to learn. And I think you're also looking from the other perspective, which is very important as well, which is making sure that from an organizational perspective, we're helping the right skills that we need for today and for the future be nurtured and develop. So Lumi, they assume the issue is with not having the right tool. Yeah, spot on, right? They assume it's a tool problem. I like that much better than what I've written here, actually. I wish I could change it.
It might not be the tool. It might be also that they think that they do not plan it correctly. They cannot forecast it ahead. So
correct. Yes.
You know, and they cannot plan like how much work is going to the other teams, or how much velocity of that teams have at certain time. So forecasting tool might help in this case.
Yes, lovely. And I think Ming, I take her to be in a similar space with the way I've written it. Bad data is inhibiting forecasting coordination. So communication between the organization cannot estimate. Yes, bad data, garbage in, garbage out, all of that. They assume it's something wrong with forecasting, and that forecasting is making it hard to coordinate. So absolutely. Oh. So I want to move on because this is an interesting side note to where I want to get to. But this is just a summary. We're assuming from a human resources perspective, firstly, we're assuming two distinct problems. From a human resources perspective, we're assuming that staff do not have access to learning content. Therefore, we need to make it available. From project managers, we're assuming that we have bad data. Therefore, we can't forecast, and therefore it's hard to coordinate across teams, let people know when work is coming so they can be ready for it. And that's leading to all the effects above. And this is what we need to look out for as we move forward. For us to validate their solutions, we need to start to think about what is their hypothesis, what is the problem they really think they're trying to solve, and is that the real problem? So that's what we need to look out for as we move forward. So recap, we naturally think in terms of cause and effect. You've proven that with your light bulb experiment. Being explicit in our reasoning allows our thinking to be invalidated. So you've done that for Tyrell. You've worked backwards and said, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And is that really the problem? And I want to go further down that path, AKA a hypothesis. One more example, my back hurts. And don't worry, I'm not looking for sympathy, although it's always welcome. So the effect is just to build out this cause and effect diagram. My back hurts. And so what I was doing originally was I thought my back hurts, so let me stretch and ensure I have good posture. Right now, I could tell you, if you could see how I was sitting, I don't have good posture. But Acuff also said that in a system, the best way to treat a problem is seldom where the problem appears, which makes me wonder, if my back's hurting and I'm directly focusing on my back, is that the right place to look? So I went to the physio. The physio asked me to bend forwards, and she watched my posture, and she found that just to generate a little bit of movement, just to generate a little bit of lean, my back was bending a lot. And so what she realized was that my back was doing the bending. And because I was doing a lot of bending every day, my back was hurting. So the circle here is just an and cause. If my back has to do the bending, and I do a lot of bending each day, my back hurts. But the question then is, well, either you can just stop bending and we're done, or we could kind of try and work out, well, why is your back doing the bending? And what it became very clear very quickly was that my legs are very inflexible. And so the question I have is, given I was stretching my back, what benefit, if I continue stretching my back, what benefit could that offer, given what we've uncovered? Momentary relief, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to steal that phrase, I actually really like it. Improve flexibility, yes. And the way that I heard someone else word that, Claire, was that it's going to provide benefit, but not the benefit I'm looking for. But yes, absolutely. It's going to solve a different problem, but a problem I still have, but a different one. Absolutely. Better sleep, probably, to be honest. I like that. So it's what I'm hearing is yes. Diagnose any problem, you should consider all possible causes and their respective causes. Transitive causes. Doctors have a mental checklist of like this reasons. Oh, I like this. This teaches me. I like it very much. Curious. Increase blood circulation. Yes. Yes. So in this case, what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong, is it would provide benefits, but it wouldn't solve the problem in front of me. And I agree. and it didn't. So then where could given the problem I'm trying to solve, which is my back is hurting, I want it to stop hurting, where could I refocus my efforts? My legs. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely, I could stretch my legs. I would also accept in this case, don't bend anymore. And that's a very fair answer. And so, yes, so what I need to do is I need to stop treating the effect and I need to treat the cause in this case if I want anything other than momentary relief. I like that phrase. So thank you for sharing it with me. And Akov says, I have a few quotes because I'm reading his books at the moment, so I have a bit of a affinity for him. So we fail more often because we solve the wrong problem. That's exactly what I was doing. I was trying to, I was focusing my back when my back wasn't the problem. It was the symptom, but it wasn't the problem. And there's something else here that in reality, any one cause, as you know, probably better than me, will often have many effects. A head cold doesn't tend to come with one effect, it comes with many. Horrible effects related to your nose, your ears, your throat, and everything. Similar here, there were other causes, other effects that I just didn't list here. So for example, my leg muscles are inflexible. Not only was that leading to my back hurting, but it meant my legs muscles were easily overstretched, which means I was at risk of injury when I was running. And my leg muscles are inflexible. I didn't know this until recently, but your calf muscles actually contract at night. So what it means is when you wake up, you limp because your Achilles tendon is having to stretch so much more to make up for the fact that your calf is kind of contracted. So it's leading to other effects. And the thing that I really want to bring out here is that few causes tend to be responsible for many effects rather than the other way around. And that was something that was quite alien to me until recently. But if we trace back far enough, what we should see is that if we see all these different effects, if we trace back, they should converge down to one or just a few causes, similar to when you're diagnosing a patient. And that gives us leverage, because if we can treat the cause itself, we can dissolve all the effects in one go. Whereas if we try and handle the symptoms and have that momentary relief, I really love that phrase. Yes, we'll have momentary relief, but we're using a lot of effort just for momentary relief everywhere. So yeah, if I focus here, not only do I get better, more flexible legs, but all these things disappear, and that's great. So yes, so practicing cause and effect thinking allows us to find and focus on the underlying cause to eliminate often many or several effects. Understand why focusing anywhere that isn't an underlying cause leads to only temporary improvement or momentary relief. I like my back stretches. Accept why previous attempts to improve things may have been unsuccessful and improve future attempts. I go to the physio, find you need to focus on your legs. And now I want to play a game with you. But before I do, I just want to see what's coming up here. Any questions, any comments, any challenges, because that helps me learn. I'm grateful for that. Anything that you see differently? The wrong problem is easier to solve than the real one. Yes, absolutely. Maybe you need to change your shoes. Yes, thank you, Corrado. I do actually. You're absolutely right. Any particular book from Akov you're reading? Oh, believe me, you're very. I'm very grateful for your curiosity. I said books, but at the moment I'm only on the first book, so I'm very early in my Akov journey, and it's The Art of Creative Problem Solving. You'll see a link in the bottom left of some of the slides. So I'll share the slides later. You can just click on that. I think it's The Art of Creative Problem Solving. Yes, you'll see that in a second. Great, I'll continue. Right, so I want to give you a chance, and Corrado, this is where I'm going to request your help with breakout rooms. So I have a Miro board. It's public access. Basically, I'd like to divide you into small groups of 3 people, maybe, so you can work together. And let me just go there now. What you'll find is lots of boards, all the same, and on there I've put lots of different effects. Some of them are also causes as well as effects. And what I'm curious for you to do is try to link these together in terms of cause and effect. So for example, and these all came from an organization. So for example, if trust is reduced, could that lead to more difficult confrontations? I don't know. I can't remember. And if we have more difficult confrontations, what could that lead to? And I hope by mapping that out, what we'll start to find is what is something that's more of a cause. And if we focus on it, can lead to kind of a ripple of benefits across effects. So by connecting these together, I would love you to try and identify what is something that's more of a deeper cause, more of a Simon's legs are inflexible versus Simon's back could be stretched, so that if you only have limited time and limited effort, as every organization does, you focus on something that's going to have more of a impact than treating any of the effects directly in isolation. The way you can draw arrows, I think you're probably all Miro pros now, particularly after COVID, is if you click on a post, you have these dots and you can click and drag like this. And then you can just press delete or backspace on your keyboard to get rid of it. I will share the link now. Any questions, first of all, before I try and work out how to do breakout rooms? Anything that didn't make sense?
No question from me, Simon, but
yes.
Let's open the breakout rooms.
Yes, could we do it for maybe 8 minutes, 9 minutes, something around there, if that's okay, Corrado? Maybe I could I request your help? Wait, I'll give it a shot. Assign automatically, create. Let me try this. 1, 2. So I think we need 9 breakout rooms, Corrado?
Yeah, exactly. I was saying the same, but I was on mute.
Thank you. Perfect.
Keep in mind, do one less. So there will be someone that will stay in the main room, so we continue to record something.
Okay, great. So I choose create 8 breakout rooms, and then I just press create and we go. Is it as simple as that? Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed. Hey Bob, really good to see you. And then I'll just open the rooms. Hopefully that works.
Yeah, there are still some people in the main room, but however, do you think it's okay to have these people here, Simon? I'm not sure they actually are participating. Okay, that's why.
Because that would be my assumption. Sorry. As long as everyone's happy, I'm happy.
Okay. Matthew says that I click don't join right now. Yeah, thank you, Matthew, for staying here. Thank you.
Perfect. What I'll do here then, I guess, with the recording is maybe I'll just share my screen and we can see what everyone's doing, and then I'll just keep an eye on if anyone wants me to pop in.
Maybe what you can do, Simon, here, exactly. You can focus on one of some of them. Okay, Matthew, let us know. Okay,
I forgot one. I forgot one key instruction, which is you can find each other using the emoji. Hopefully they work that out, I'm sure. Yeah, it looks like they're gravitating towards each other.
Maybe, Simon, if you can zoom off some of the screen.
Yeah, sure.
So we can read the tickets. I mean, the tickets are always the same. Okay, we need a request from of help from room 6. I'm joining there. Let me see. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Let me know if you want me to join in.
yeah, I noticed, Simon, that actually people cannot share the screen, so they have to go directly to mirror all of them. So they cannot share the screen because you can give the permission to share the screen. This is just for our information. I mean, you should enter in each of the rooms and give permission. I cannot, because you probably launched the breakout rooms, so you are, let me say, the owner of the session. Okay. Strange, really strange, but that's it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, yeah, thank you. That's helpful feedback. Thank you, Corrado. Let me bring everyone back. Thank you for diving in and helping. Yeah, thanks, Corrado. I could have given clear instructions to make sure people gravitated towards the emoji and found each other quickly.
Yeah.
Better access. So yeah, thank you.
And also another assumption is that not everyone is used to play with Miro.
Yeah, and has access
to some instruction could be helpful before. Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I like that.
My pleasure. Hello.
Yeah, we're back in the room.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being courageous and trying that out, especially when I missed one of the key instructions, which was how you could find each other on the mirror board. Why there's all these weird emoji there. So it seems like you all managed to find yourselves just about. And I was flying about watching you. I hope you don't mind. And what I found, at least I flicked through 2 or 3 boards, and what I find interesting is there's more arrows coming out of this generally, and generally no arrows leading into it, i.e. IT committed to too many projects for the financial year. And that makes me curious about it. Is it a point of leverage? Is there something there that, was it the right thing to do in hindsight? But I hope more than anything, the reason we put you in groups is the conversation sometimes interesting, because I've given you incomplete information. You weren't there talking to people, and therefore you have to make loads of assumptions. I'm forcing you into that uncomfortable position. And so I'm grateful for you trying it out and chatting and talking through what could this stuff mean. So there's one possible example here. I'll leave it in the slide deck if you want to have a look. It's great, but it's just getting into the action of trying to join things together and seeing what could lead to this, given the assumptions we're making about it, is really the main thing. So thank you for trying that out. But you created a current reality tree. You rock, congratulations. And really what you were looking for is, if all these different effects, all these different negative effects, where could they be coming from? How can we trace down a little bit deeper? Because if we focus our efforts deeper, we can have more impact. So I'm grateful for you having a go. And that's just what we did at Tyrell. So sorry, let me rephrase that. So what you did was you took many visible effects and you tried to trace backwards to the underlying common cause. And that enabled 2 things. Firstly, to find a more suitable solution. And secondly, in doing so, choosing a solution that will eradicate or dissolve many effects in one go. And yeah, that's what we did at Tyrell.
Would you expect that the current reality tree is a directed acyclic graph?
Can you help me understand a directed acyclic graph?
Acyclic means that you don't, if you follow all the arrows, you never get into a loop.
Oh, no, I wouldn't expect that. No, it's a really good question. Thank you. No, I wouldn't expect that. I would expect the most interesting ones are ones with the loops. Could you Emo, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Could I come back to that, and could you hold me to it in about 5 minutes? Because there's, in what I want to share with you now, I hope you'll see what I think you're sharing with me, which is a downward spiral, something that's kind of making things worse over time. And that's a really good question. Thank you for helping me understand it. Right, so this is, I want to put together Tyrell's current reality tree now. So these are all of the effects that we were seeing, the ones that we mentioned before: projects moving slowly, unpredictably, staff quitting, etc. There's a few that I want to throw in that I didn't share with you earlier, which is an issue in one project was often rippling across other projects, and also staff were feeling demotivated. I don't think that's any secret. You put 2 and 2 together. But even just looking at these effects themselves, you can start to see some cause and effect relationship. If staff are feeling demotivated, then that might be one reason they leave. And often if work is getting stuck between teams, that might be one reason why projects move slow and unpredictably. An issue on one project rippling across all other projects is probably another reason that projects move slow and unpredictably. And this was the bit I think you were all hinting at earlier, and you had, I think, in your foresight, which is that if staff weren't able to grow the skills that matter to them, and motivation depends on being able to grow the skills that matter to you as an individual, that might be one reason why people feel demotivated and why they're quitting. But if we peel back a little bit more, one of the observations we had here was that staff were assigned to multiple projects. And what that meant was that often team members were overutilized. They were very busy. And if learning takes time, takes space, that might be why, if team members are overutilized and learning takes time, those two things together mean that staff may be unable to grow the skills that matter to them for the lack of space, not for the lack of access to materials. And if staff are quitting, what does that mean for the rest of the staff? That means that there's less staff and they may be spread across more projects. And that's, that's one of the downward spiral perhaps, because what we're seeing is if there's less staff, if there's less staff left, then we may need to spread more people across fewer projects. That means people even more overutilized and they have even less time to learn, and it kind of repeats and repeats a little bit. And also if team members are overutilized and teams are interdependent, no one team can fulfill their goal in isolation. They need help from other teams like developers and operations, or developers and testers, depending on how you split up your organization. That might be why work gets stuck between teams, because the team you're trying to hand work off to is so busy trying to finish what they're doing right now, it sits for a while in their queue. And that might be therefore one reason why projects move slow and unpredictably. But the world, another assumption is the world is not predictable. And if the world is not predictable, a project may face urgent issues. That's not unlikely. But the problem is if staff are assigned to multiple projects and any one project may face urgent issues, that staff member almost acts as a conductor. They conduct the ripple effect across projects, because that staff member can only be in one place at one time. If he has to suddenly be drawn over here because there's an issue, he can't be with the other projects. The other projects get robbed of that staff member. And therefore, an issue on one project will ripple across other projects, purely because that individual, through no fault of their own, cannot be in two places at once. I wish I could be. And if projects move slow and unpredictably, staff will often need to wait on other teams. They may be twiddling their thumbs. But if they are twiddling their thumbs, and we have a belief that maximizing staff utilization increases throughput, i.e., if we make sure staff have enough to get on with all the time in any given period, will deliver more projects, and then staff might be assigned to multiple projects. That might be the reason why we do that. I'm going to stop talking. Any questions so far? There's a few questions I want to ask you, but I just want to make sure, firstly, is this clear? Any questions about the clarity, anything there? And we'll build on this.
I can see a lot of parallels with the systems thinking approach.
Ooh, tell me more, Emo.
Well, it's a long time since I've looked at it, but systems thinking has these kind of reinforcement and attenuating influences between different processes and between different data sources. And you actually quantify so that you can see where the feedback loops are and where the mutually cancellation loops are. So damping effects and amplification effects come out quite clearly. So this is a bit less formal. It looks that you're just trying to kind of hold on a diagram what people are telling you about their particular motivations.
Yes, absolutely. And I think so. The current reality tree was a tool that forms part of the theory of constraints. Eli Goldratt was the gentleman who I don't know, I'm not sure what the term is, helped put together the theory as an Israeli physicist. And I don't think in a lot of literature he's named as a systems thinker, but inherently what this theory has and all the tools that form part of it helps with systems thinking, I believe. So the connection you make resonates with me from what I understand. Yeah, so thank you for your observation. Right. So what is the underlying common cause? And again, I'm testing myself, making sure I've shared things in a way that makes sense. So if in this system, in this cause and effect diagram, you could only focus your efforts in a single place, where would it be? Ah, yes, Pascal, causal loop. Yes. Thank you for naming it. Danella Meadows. Ooh. Thank you, Chris. J. Forrest, paper, vicious virtuous cycles. I'm going to save this chat for later. Thank you. Otherwise, I'm going to get distracted. This is wonderful. Yes, if you could only focus your efforts on one place, where would it be? Staff are assigned to multiple projects. I like this, Claire. Anyone see anything differently? So I think Claire is circling around this one, and Chris is circulating around here to an item that has no predecessor. Pascal, yes. I agree with that. Maximizing staff instead of optimizing staff. Ooh, interesting. Curious. There's something in that. So let me move forward. I also realize I could chat with you all day, and we're already at 7, so 7 my time, so forgive me. So this is what I think, for me, this is where I'm interested in. Maximizing staff utilization increases throughput. It's just one step before you, Claire, and maybe two clicks before you, Chris, because it feels like this is feeding into this. And I think this is maybe where Pascal is looking. Maximizing staff utilization increases throughput is what is driving us to do those things. And I want to come back to that. Before I do, I have a question, which is, are PMs, sorry, I already like Pascal's points. Are PMs and HR facing independent problems? Are these two things, they were working in isolation before, were they doing, are these problems isolated, independent, distinct?
I'm going to go for no. I'm going to go for a verbal no.
Cool, friend? Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'll accept the verbal no and I'll raise you. Yes. And Emo and Esbern. Yes. Very much interdependent. Yes. They're all interrelated, right? Because we now see that they trace down to something that connects them. And ACOP again, because I've been reading this book, forgive me. I have a bit of bias there. Managers are not confronted with problems that are independent of each other, but they're problems that interact with each other. Analysis is separating the problems, dealing with them in isolation. I've done a lot of that, made a lot of horrible mistakes as a result, whereas what we want to do is we want to deal with them together. We want to manage the mess that those problems form when they're together. I'm going to zoom through the next slides purely because of time. What would be the impact of the original solutions? So we had the idea of new project tool helping us with project forecasting, because bad data is inhibiting forecasting and coordination. Personally, I don't know how that would help, because I've not seen anything about bad data, anything about forecasting that would help, anything about a tool or a process that's inhibiting us. And purchasing on demand learning content, because staff don't have access to learning content. It felt like they were close, but not quite on the money. Like, so it felt like their hypothesis wasn't quite wrong. So recap, problems are often interconnected and best understood and tackled together, as better said by ACOF. And we're not taught to think this way. Organizational boundaries encourage us to solve problems in isolation. Cause and effect thinking can help us bring the pieces of those interconnected problems together so everyone can understand and see the problem as a whole. And that reminds me of the elephant paradox, which I'm sure you're all more familiar with than me. We're all kind of, you know, we're some of us are seeing it's a rope, some of us are seeing it's a spear, and therefore we're behaving in that way. But if we actually were able to bring our pieces together, we could see the whole and understand we need to approach it differently. Interlude. Right, sorry, there's so much here. I have another puzzle for you. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, wonderful. So the challenge for you is, can you join all 9 dots with only 4 straight lines and without removing your pen from the paper? You can see me attempting this on the right-hand side and failing. I'll give you a minute. If you have any questions, if it doesn't make sense, let me know. Please. Anyone got anything they want to share?
You have to think beyond the box, don't you?
I think so. I like this.
You have to go beyond the boundaries of the.
Yeah. I would say behind the dots.
Behind the dots. I like that. That's very, yes. So one approach is going beyond the dots. That's better put than I could have. And if you go beyond the dots, you can actually do 4 sweeps. The other one, if you have paper with you, that was me hinting, is you can fold the paper. And you can do 1 line across 6 dots. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this puzzle before. Thank you for bearing with me on that. And Akoff, and this is from Akoff's book, sorry, there's the link at the bottom left. So the art of problem solving, one of you is curious, I'm grateful for that. Creativity is often shackled by self-imposed constraints, and therefore the key lies in finding them, identifying those constraints and deliberately removing them. So in the top one, the assumption that I held when I tried, because I failed, I wasn't able to get any solution when I did this, was that lines must be drawn within the perimeter of the square. That's the assumption I held. I wasn't able to realize I couldn't break and I couldn't find that solution. The assumption for the bottom one is that paper must lie flat whilst lines are drawn. Again, I didn't realize I had that assumption, and so I couldn't solve the problem, come to that solution. So creative solutions often come from servicing and reevaluating our assumptions. And I'm going to probably tell more than ask purely because of time. Looking at the bottom right, this thing here really bugs me, because this thing here strikes me as an assumption. Maximizing staff utilization increases throughput, and it feels like that's driving everything here. That's an assumption I held as a manager. You know, I don't blame anyone for holding that. It feels quite coherent, feels quite rational. But empirically and theoretically, we can kind of disprove it now. Theoretically, Kingsman formula shows that if we utilize a resource above 85%, or utilize an individual above 85%, queue length starts to approach infinity depending on the variability of work and things like that. But what I'm interested in is empirically, we can see from what this has created that actually maximizing staff utilization to the point of full capacity, they don't have time to learn now. And they don't have time, and work is now going to pile up in between teams because they have to finish what they're working on before they can pick up the next thing. And that's leading to all of the problems. So even just looking at this, we can see that this assumption isn't quite right. And a friend and mentor of mine.
Same thing in the NHS, isn't it? Where we've got this business of that they want to maximise bed occupancy.
Yes.
But that means there's absolutely no slack in the system, and as soon as anything goes the tiniest bit wrong, people's operations have to be delayed and all this kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Spot on, Imo. I mean, it's maximizing productivity, but maybe not throughput, because the example of a traffic jam is exactly the explanation of that. Maximize the number of cars in the road, in the street, but actually all the cars are blocked by the other cars. So,
yeah, I think that's well, no, I don't think that's a massive oversimplification, and there are a number of reasons behind that. So if you know about the kind of wider determinants of health, so basically only 20% of what we all understand as relating to health, be it access to medication, access to hospital or GPs or whatever, is responsible for how long a person will live or how well they live. 80% is due to other factors. I won't go into them now. So actually, it's hugely, if you want to see complexity, that's properly complex in terms of life and healthcare and healthcare delivery. Just to
thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm grateful for the insights that everyone brings and challenges my own assumptions. I'm going to charge forward. I realize we have 1 minute left formally. If you can stay, I'd love to have you. I really enjoyed being with you. And I'm going to save the chat for later. So my friend and mentor said you should never plan above more than 40% capacity, because if we go above 85%, queues increase to infinity. 20% of work is going to be for improvement. 20% is probably going to be unplanned work. So really, if we're planning planned work, let's go to 40. And so I'm curious, if we were to swap out this assumption, what would happen if we change our assumption of maximizing staff utilization increases throughput, because we've seen it wrong. It's wrong, and swap it for planning work to 40% of staff capacity increases throughput. What would happen to all of these? What would happen to the diagram? I'll pause a second in case anything comes up for other people. Otherwise, I'll storm on and give you what I think it looks like. So my belief is that the problem dissolves. And it's not to say we wave a magic wand and everything's better and we all hold hands and kumbaya, but I think we start to challenge some of the underlying assumptions that are leading to some of the effects. Bob, please, I know this is your area of expertise. I'd love to learn from you.
Well, for a start, it'll mean that if you're waiting on another project, you can use that time to do the learning. That link is broken.
Did you come up with the minus 40%?
Oh, sorry, it's going to be approximately 40%. Sorry, that was me using an assumption there. Thank you, Emo. And Bob, sorry, please, what comes up for you? I know this is your area of expertise. Great.
I put something in the chat a couple of minutes ago about a missing UDE, or missing undesirable effect, along the lines of what you just mentioned. You know, like the UDE that I feel is missing is something to do with collective assumptions and beliefs.
Tell me more, please.
I probably word the UDE as unhelpful collective assumptions and beliefs, or in my vocabulary, ineffective collective assumptions and beliefs.
I see. And where would you put?
Well, it feeds into the root cause thing that you were suggesting around maximizing busyness. That's caused by a certain set of assumptions and beliefs around keeping people busy, utilization, and all the things that we see in analytic organizations.
Thank you, Bob. Sorry, there's a slight delay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So I'm hearing that there's something missing down here, which is there's a set of collective assumptions, one of which is around utilization, and that's driving things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. It's lovely to hear your voice. Anyone else? Sorry, otherwise I'll speed on. Perfect. Okay, can speed on. So recap: often an underlying cause and assumption that no longer stands, and correcting an assumption can help start to dissolve the problem and its effects. Not like magic. There's still things that we need to understand what this new assumption will mean for the other things, but it gives us direction that will help us dissolve the problems. I have another story, but I realize we're at time. I'll share in PDF if you'd like. And this is the key thing here is in this organization, they were targeting cost savings and understanding that will reduce costs. And John Seddon puts this really well, that by chasing efficiency, by managing costs, actually we undermine effectiveness and costs go up. And I didn't really understand that or believe it. Yes, I see Bob pointing upwards as well. I didn't believe it until I saw it in action, because I just I couldn't picture it. I couldn't understand it. Thank you, Carter. Yes, I really am. So yes, and so there's something we can replace that assumption with. There's another set of, so I'm trying to find Bob's post. There's some collective assumptions and beliefs that are leading to furthering the difficulties the organization was facing. And there's some other individual and validated assumptions here. So what? This is the summary. So problems are often interconnected and best understood and tackled together as a mess, not through analysis. Cause and effect thinking, a la current reality tree, can help us. There's other tools as well, as you've helped me see. But using those tools can help us find and focus on underlying causes to eliminate them, many or several effects. It gives us leverage. It helps us understand why focusing anywhere that isn't an underlying cause can lead only to temporary improvement, like back, for example. Except why previous attempts to improve things may have been unsuccessful, improve future attempts. Go see a physio. And realize that your problem is your legs. And often underlying cause is an assumption that no longer stands. If corrected, the problem and its effects can be dissolved. Not magically, but it gives us a starting point. Reading. Bob, I need to add your books here. I need to read them first and add them. So I'm looking forward to that. And Bob, was there anything you want to mention about your books? Because as I put sort of the heads up, as I put a little bit of this on LinkedIn, and Bob responded and helped me understand that he's written a lot about this already.
Yeah, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of blog posts on my blog that cover these topics, and all three of my Lean Pub books, as a series or as a collection, deal with collective assumptions and beliefs, which is what I've been working on. That's been my work for the last 15 years. So.
And I've only just realized in the last 2 weeks, would you say, Bob? So I'm looking forward to reading your
Yeah, I
books.
guess, yeah.
So thank you. Perfect.
Everybody comes at the right time.
Everybody comes when they're ready, from my point of view, for me. There's a few. Thank you, Bob. There's a link here I'd love to share just to learn from you in terms of how I could make this more useful in future. I'll share that in chat. Otherwise, any questions, very, very welcome. But most of all, thank you very much for having me. I know I've overrun by 6 minutes.
Yeah, if you have questions, we have time for some questions. I mean, feel free to make it. In the meantime, I put in the chat the link to the YouTube channel where you will be able to find the recording of the session and the link to the LinkedIn group, as I mentioned before. Maybe if you want to share some information like links, books, and what else, you can use the meetup page, or maybe better, you can use the LinkedIn group, because most of us are already on LinkedIn, so you can register there. Simon is there, I am there, so we can use this. It's a more efficient actually than the meetup channel. So feel free to join, and let's use this for the conversation. Absolutely. You heard the alarm. Perfect. Any question for Simon? Okay, just a quick comment from me. I'm really enjoyed this event. Okay, unfortunately, I was not able to join the session, the discussion in the breakout rooms, but I will go to the mural boards to see the conclusion. So I think it was really helpful. Thank you, Simon, for sharing. And also thank you, everyone, for sharing their own experience on this. So to Imon, Bob, and whoever has already shared something. So again, it's another invitation. Join the channel in on LinkedIn and then discuss, and let's continue the conversation there. Bob, I see your hand is still on. Have you something?
No, that's a new hand.
Yeah, please.
A new question for Simon. I don't know if you've got time. Maybe we can do it offline, but I'd be interested to hear where you discovered or how you discovered Goldratt and ACOS.
Oh, I love that question, Bob, because we all come to Goldratt in our own ways. So I encountered Goldratt through a mentor of mine I met 7 years ago. I joined a small consulting company. I'd done a business degree. Everything I took away from the business degree wasn't quite helpful. And that's not a judgment of the business degree, it's a judgment of what I took away. My mentor, Noah Cantor, kind of helped me understand Goldratt and the current reality tree and the other tools, and got me reading from the goal onwards. Does that comes up for you?
Yeah, I know Noah. I've known Noah for many years, so yeah.
Amazing. Oh, I'm excited by that.
I think on one occasion he called me his mentor, so I don't know how true that is, but
oh, it's a small world.
yeah, indeed.
Oh,
Thanks.
Thank you. Excited by being with you.
Great. Thank you, Bob, for sharing this. You see, it's true. The word is really leader. Again, another invitation as a final comment to share your ideas, to share your content, to share your presentation, your experience, maybe also your failures, because it could be interesting for us to know. And again, thank you, Simon, for this event. The record will be available on YouTube channel, and I will put something in on Meetup and on LinkedIn to notify that. Bravo, Simon, from Maru. Oh, that's perfect.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining.